So good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Minde, the Growth and Partnership Lead at Tenda Soko, and I'll be a moderator for the session. So I think you can begin by introducing ourselves in the chat as we go. As of today's webinar, is going to be part of the build up to our upcoming Ethical Procurement and Business Partnership Forum 2025, which is happening this week, Friday, at Emara Olesereni. So we are delighted to also have NCBA Bank as one of our key finance partners on this journey. So you can begin by introducing yourselves in the chat, then we'll have a talk about NCBA Bank, then we'll introduce our speaker who is going to take us through the day. Okay, thank you so much, Francis. So in case you have any question, you can just share it directly in the chat and they'll be in a position of responding. You can also share what you're looking at, what are some of the questions you're looking at them addressing because they have their team here. So, so NCBA has been at the forefront when it comes to supporting businesses with innovative financial solutions and beyond traditional banking. So they're deeply invested in creating tailored value propositions for MSMEs, addressing critical financial gaps, and also developing partnerships that help entrepreneurs be in a position of unlocking growth, resilience, and long-term sustainability. Since today's session is short, I'm going to introduce the speaker of the day, who is Mr. Owiti, the Senior Manager for Customer Value Proposition and Partnership at NCBA Bank. So within the Commercial and SME Banking Department, so Collins brings 15 years of experience in banking, strategic partnerships, and development finance. His expertise spans SME and commercial lending, microfinance, project finance, and even impact-driven programs around water, climate resilience, and renewable energy. He is a certified retail banker and is currently advancing his specialization as a climate and renewable energy expert at the Frankfurt School of Management. So in this webinar, we are looking at Collins maybe sharing insights on how NCBA is going beyond financing to create solutions that truly spur lending and resilience. You can expect also to get practical maybe insights on how you can position yourself to access value-adding partnerships. So we are really looking forward to this conversation. And with that, so let me hand over to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Collins Owiti. Collins, you're welcome.
All right, thank you very much. I sincerely appreciated, Lynette, and good morning, everyone. I hope we are all good today. And as has been introduced, my name is Collins Owiti. I take care of strategic partnerships and customer value propositions within the commercial and SME department at NCBA here. So what then commercial and SME means we are dealing with clients with borrowing capacities from as low as 500,000 to all the way up to 1 billion or 1.2 billion. So that is the scope of the SME and the commercial segment. So commercial segment being the upper tier SMEs, which are largely then medium enterprises for that role, and the SME, and some of us probably within this call and our businesses would definitely then fall within that scope. So the question then we ask ourselves is why CVP and customer value proposition? Traditionally, banks have been known to for lending. So since the history of banking that started with the Jews and the biblical stories of those who were trading in the temples and being whipped for trading in the temple, that is the beginning of trade and exchange of money for goods and pushing money from those who have excess of it and they do not need it, and pushing it to those who needed it at that particular time. So largely then banking has been about financial intermediation, and that is something we've done and perfected for so many years. Now, as time passes and customer needs become more and more complex, there has always been a need that then the banking sector, and especially the lending arm of the banking sector, then goes and just relooks at its relationship from how then do we deal with customers, and how do we then get to meet the needs and the demands of our various customers. That has then been pushed to the point of asking ourselves, is everything around financing what we really need? Do customers just need financing only? Is the biggest challenge that SMEs face today is financing? Absolutely. Of course, if you look at it from that point of view, yes, financing is a very key cog, because money is the wheel of running our businesses, whether we are meeting our cost of production, whether we are doing our operational OPEX, and whether we are doing our future plannings, whether we are doing CAPEX, we're expanding, we all get to need money. We need money for that as entrepreneurs. However, along the way, then we get to appreciate, and a couple of things that then we get to appreciate is that we all get into entrepreneurship for so many reasons. Some of us will do it out of passion. Some of us do it circumstantially. Some of us also probably then did it to try to fill a gap. Others also did it because it was the only way out, and all other opportunities had been explored, way maybe from college and into the outside world, and you tried so many things. You tried looking for opportunities, they were not forthcoming, and then you got into entrepreneurship. And some of us probably, because of unfortunate incidences in our backgrounds, we were not able to raise even the money to go through the entire college system. And as a result of that, we had to fall off at some point and then just get into the entrepreneurship and push ourselves. Now, along the way, then, of course, then a couple of things then happen that we get to appreciate, that yes, we are good at what we do. Yes, I'm an engineer, for example, and run an engineering firm. I'm an accountant and run an accountancy firm, or I'm a medical doctor, for example, and I run a clinic or whatever it is. There's an element of business that probably then we were not then inculcated in us, or probably just getting the fundamentals right. What do I need to do? How do I create structures in my business, for example? How then do I get to ensure that then my business then responds? How do I look at things like business plans? How do you look at things like how do I get to, for example, to create a succession plan? How do I ensure that whatever I'm doing now then moves on to the next generation, that I can be able to hand over to if it's my children or my beneficiaries, for example, to be able to run it and continue feeding off it even way after I'm long gone, or even when I just decide to step back and let it manage. So succession planning element comes into it. How do I deal with managing family issues if I'm working with my spouse, or working with my brought on board my brothers, brought on board my sisters, and all those things into the business, and how then do I get to deal with those challenges? Some of those aspects probably we were not taught at school, or some of those things we learned along the way the hard way. And we do believe as a bank that some of those little things that we look at, and probably then we don't look at it primarily as the main source of what of the things that we need to consider when engaging our businesses, actually affect the overall outcome of our interaction with our customers and our clients. And so partnerships and strategic value proposition then came on board and asked ourselves, what is it that we're going to do beyond financing these SMEs? What is it that business people will need beyond just the finance bit of it? If today, for example, I lend to Final Enterprises Limited, Shaban, for example, Final Enterprises Limited, 10 million, because he has one particular need. He needs to supply X. He needs to complete a tender. He needs to then import one or two equipments that he needs to use for his operational. Is that enough? Is that everything that as a bank we can be able to do to him? And if that is so, then does then that guarantee success, that then it will be in line with our growth strategy as a bank, and also our aspiration for our clients, that we want to grow clients beyond just us, the bank, growing, but we can also look at Final Enterprises today, based in Nairobi, and having 20 outlets, for example, in the next 5 years, and also trading regionally within the East African community, and probably even within the African continent through the various trade options that are there. So then what do we do as a bank to be able to ensure that that happens? So that in a nutshell is what then has generated our interest in developing propositions that then look at it beyond financing, and look at customers and businesses from a point of not just giving you money, but also then helping you then develop, not only use that money, but also scaling. And so for us, growth then became very critical for those businesses. And that growth then had to be powered by a bit of support structure that then the bank then intends and wants to offer. So that's in a nutshell what our role looks at in strategic partnerships. And I want to look at it now from the various facets that we look at as partnerships. So one of the things that we looked at and the things that I've highlighted there is how do we develop capacity for our SMEs today? So capacity building then becomes a very critical cog. How do we ensure that our customers' capacity? So beyond that, then we ask ourselves, today a customer walks to our branch and they start off their loan facility maybe with 1 million as a small enterprise. In the next 5 years, they've grown their businesses, they've been able to do their trade, and they've reached a point now where they're now looking at even scaling. And they've scaled to a point now that they now need to grow and probably borrow 20, 30, or 40 million. Again, another 5 years down the line, they've now moved from the medium enterprise, from the SMEs now, the medium enterprise, and they're going to now large commercial enterprises. They now need to borrow 100 and 200 million. So what has happened between the time they walked into our branch at 1 million and moved to a point where they grew to 500 million borrowing capacity? And we've had growth stories of those magnitude proportions. Has there anything that has changed within their business structures, for example? Has there anything that has changed within their compliance, within their formalization? Are they more formalized as it is, as they are right now, than they were 10 years ago when they started engaging with us? And so then we ask ourselves as a bank, then what capacity building instruments can we then put in place to be able to ensure that then this customer can actually then be able to move from where they are at point A and grow? And that is critical to us even as a bank, because then again, we'd want customers to grow, and most importantly, we'd want customers to succeed. Because we're investing in them. We're investing in them when we're financing them. We're putting part of our resources into them when we finance them. And we are asking ourselves then, how then do we help them to be able to protect that financing over that period, then to ensure that whatever they borrow today, whatever they borrow 6, 10 years down the line, then they're able to comfortably pay, and we continue with the relationship and probably even explore more other ways of interaction. And so we developed a capacity building program in so many facets. One of them that we've done is that we've gotten into joint partnerships with universities. And 2 universities I'll mention now, as the others are still, we're still winding up across of the country with the rest of the other universities. But Strathmore University at Strathmore, we've managed to develop 2 very good programs for entrepreneurs called the Enterprise Development Program, that then targets our small enterprises that are now at a growth phase or at an acceleration phase, and develop them along the various facets, whether it's business planning, whether it's financial management, whether it's record keeping, whether we are dealing with things like how then do you deal with debtors, how do you manage your debtors and creditors listing, and all those aspects that we're doing. So this program then has been running for a while, since 2017 with Strathmore University, save for the 2 years that we had COVID. And over that period, we've done over close to 400 entrepreneurs that have been trained through this program in the various and have graduated. So it's a 16 weeks program, 1 week each week, one day each week, half a day, and it's a mixture of just not only classroom setup, but it also goes to a point where we also get to do industry visits. So they do industry visits, we partner with industries that they can be able to visit and see. We partner with fellow entrepreneurs as well who are willing to open up their businesses and see some of the best-in-class practices that they are applying, that then we can be able to learn. So it's both a mixture of just not classroom learning, but also then it extends to then real-life learning and applicability within those 16 weeks. And then, of course, then it's then tied and closed with a graduation at the end of it, at the end of the program. Now, the Enterprise Development Program then is sort of like an incubator or a phase that then sharpens these entrepreneurs. Now, as they grow now and get into a point where the businesses are now talking of high volumes in terms of even borrowing capacities, 50 million plus going, then we have another program then that we've also partnered with them as Strathmore, which is called the Owner Manager Program. So the Owner Manager Program now looks at the CEOs of the various enterprises that we have here and ask themselves, if today you were to take a holiday, for example, to Mauritius for 3 weeks, would your bid bonds be done in good time? Would responses to various tenders that you're interested in be done without any worry? Or do you need to be working with your checkbook, for example, in a golf course and pick phone calls when your staff has called you and said, there's this that needs to be paid, and you need to have signed a check, and I'm sending somebody, a rider, to pick the checkbook from you, because that's how you manage your business. So the owner manager program then gets now to sharpen these entrepreneurs and tell them, can you now start planning from walking away from your business and letting the business run on its own and creating systems. So it's a very big, it's a very watertight module, and the partnership then is within Strathmore University and the Lagos Business School. So half of the program then is conducted here, and the other section of the program then is done at the Lagos Business School, and practical examples are seen on entrepreneurs within Lagos and Nigeria, and also the Kenyan entrepreneurs also doing their best-in-class practice. Industry players are invited for some talks to some of these sessions as well. So it's a mixture of classroom, it's a mixture of engagement with industry players, best in class. It's a mixture of factory visits as well, to be able just to appreciate and see what you're doing and what the best in class is doing. What can you be able to apply to be able to boost this whatever then you're doing in terms of just sharpening your skills. So we believe that with that kind of engagement, then we then get to prepare our customers and tell them that just beyond, if you are a doctor, for example, and just got into business because of your skill and started your clinic, and you never went to business school, then all is not lost. You can actually learn and be able to sharpen your skills of managing, practical skills of managing your business, without really worrying about whether you ought to have studied commerce, BCom, or you studied business administration in college to be told about what exactly then are the tenets of running a good business. So it's more practical, it's more realistic. You get the best in class practice that we do with that. Now, of course, Strathmore University then is in Nairobi, and so then the question then comes in terms of there might be a limitation with regards to then our entrepreneurs who are outside. NCBA today has 100 branches plus across the country, and growing as well, and probably also and across the region. And so then it meets the question you keep asking ourselves is, what about our entrepreneurs who are not then based in Nairobi? Because then this feeds off only within who can realistically then spend their time within the city. Now, we've expanded this further, and we've signed up with Kabarak University to be able to take care of Central Rift, largely Nakuru, Gilgil area, Nyahururu, and the larger bit of that area, and developed again a similar business development program for SMEs, again, a 2-month program, still focusing on those very key tenets. One of the things I would want to mention about these business development programs, which is very critical, is that we co-design those programs with the universities. That's one. And two, we also subsidize the costs as a bank. So for NCBA customers, then there's a rate that you pay that is slightly, usually about 20%, slightly what the universities will quote as their fee for those programs. And then two, we also then co-jointly then develop the curriculum. Now, how then do we do that? Is that as the universities are preparing and assigning them up, and they give their proposals on the various elements of the curriculum they do, we also give in our input. And where is our input drawn? Our input is drawn from the feedback and the challenges that we are getting with our customers. We sift through our data, especially when it comes to borrowing, customers who are borrowing. We walk through the customer journey and ask ourselves, this is the pain point that our customers get through. What exactly are the challenges? We keep asking for documentations which are not coming. And we keep finding our customers submitting their audited accounts, for example. And when we query some of the aspects of those audited accounts, they seem not to be very clearly aware of what exactly the auditor then wrote there. You keep asking, and they say, he looks very surprised. The entrepreneur looks very surprised and say, what are you talking about? And say, okay, wait for my accountant. He needs to come and explain what this is. We look at things like managing debtors and the debtor days, and ask ourselves, why would you be giving out this kind of debtor days and preference, and your creditors are not doing the same, and there's no balance, and then you get yourself into strain. So when we do those facilities and we process, and we look at some of the reasons why we hold on customers' facilities, or we hold them up in abeyance as a customer address the issues, then we pick some of those elements, and then we share with the universities, institutions of learning, and have them then input as part and parcel of the curriculum with practical solutions. So then when our entrepreneurs then complete these courses, then they can be able to start hearing the drumming being done by the universities themselves about exactly what you need to be doing. Because by the end of the day, we want to have a very seamless flow of interaction with our customers. We want to prepare them. So sort of like just preparing them for the growth phase, whether they're going to be financed or whether they just want to keep their books in order. So many things as a bank today, as a corporate citizen, you always push for ensuring compliance. You always asked, are you picking certificate of tax compliance certificates for your customers? just to check, when you're doing their loan applications, are they compliant when it comes to paying their land rates and land rents as well. So we infuse all those things as part and parcel of the curriculum, so that then those are taught by the universities, not only from a theoretical point of view of a business development program, but also from a point of then how does this entrepreneur say, I've invested my 80,000, for example, for the last 2 months, it was worth it. I've come out of that place, and one of the things that I'm quickly going to change is just to ensure that I have all my documents ready. One of the things I'm going to quickly exchange is to ensure that I have all my returns filed in good time, and I have my tax compliance certificates every year in good shape. So that is critical to us, and that's why the curriculum then is co-developed between ourselves and the universities. Now, to further expand that on the capacity building element, is that we organize webinars as well, and one of them is what you have right now, and so many others that we've had in the series. And in these various webinars, then we invite various speakers in various items that we feel issues that are affecting our customers. We've had webinars on family businesses. How do you run family businesses? Succession planning, dealing with challenges just to do with record keeping. So we look at some of the elements. Again, there are things that then are drawn from the feedback that we get, and are drawn for the challenges that we are receiving from the feedback that we get from our customers, or our interactions with the customers, the weaknesses that we see in that interaction. Then we infuse it by then saying, can we invite a speaker or invite an expertise who can be able then to just take our customers through some of these things. And whether the webinars are 1 hour or so, we believe that their frequency and the engagement with customers then creates very good platforms that our customers are then able to just appreciate and be able to open to them. As we speak right now, we are asking ourselves, AI and artificial intelligence and machine learning and all this are here with us. The question is there anything that can be relevant for small businesses or for our SMEs in AI? Or is this AI just a technical word, or a technical word that probably then would be relevant for the big corporations like NCBA? Is there anything that SMEs can be able to appreciate from the application of AI, for example? And this is critical. And so when we ask those questions, then we tell ourselves, then how then do we organize and then sensitize our customers on what the use of AI and how they can be able to leverage on this? So the already discussions that we're having with some of the key players in this industry, and in cybersecurity as well, which is also becoming very critical. Most of our SMEs now are getting to be visible in terms of online, to have payments, accept payments, and all those kind of things. And then how then do they ring fence and ensure that the systems and platforms that they're using are not then prone to abuse? So we tend to respond. And so for the issues that then that are rising, as they continue, emerging issues that arise, then we get to address them through the various webinars that we organize for our customers as well, and we be able then to provide those as learning. The capacity building bit element that I want to mention finally is on forums. So across the countries and across the region, we do quite a number of customer engagement forums. In these customer engagement forums, then we take those opportunities to be able to get feedback from our customers. Some of those forums all those forums are very thematic. So there's always a particular issue that we'll be talking about. We have forums on things like doing with risks. We do forums on things to do with we do things to do with working with issues to do with the current trends in employment. How do you deal with emerging issues? For example, you're an entrepreneur, for example, and how do you deal with the emerging needs and the ever-changing needs of, for example, your employees who are Gen Zs, for example. So we look for experts in those areas, and then we get to these forums and invite our customers. And here is just an opportunity for us to interact. We have panel discussions where we invite panelists to just come and share with our customers and see feedback. Some of them even are within our customers themselves. Then we are able then to even invite them and share and give feedback. So the forums then also create an opportunity not for learning for clients, but also for them to give feedback to the bank and ask them, what else can we be able to improve? Are there things that you appreciate that the bank is doing? Is there anything that the bank can then be able to change beyond what you're already doing right now? And we believe, and it's also a learning session, of course, and we believe that these have also been very remarkable in terms of the feedback and where we've done that. We try also as well to do thematic forums, and some of those forums then would be targeting various differentiated SMEs and entrepreneurs. You look at SMEs in agriculture, for example, we have forums in October for the same. We're looking at private schools. We've been running private schools forum looking at various aspects like innovation, the adoption of solar for their schools, electric buses for their schools, just some of the trendy things that are going on. And then how do they get there to keep up? How do they get to save a shilling or so by adopting and be able to embracing some of the products that NCBA is trying to propose to them. We have forums targeting women entrepreneurs, for example, just looking at what opportunities are there for women entrepreneurs. How can they be able to leverage the various aspects that are there as well? Great. So that would cover the bit on the capacity building. I want to go to the next phase, which is also very critical on our beyond financing initiatives, and this is called market linkages. And we believe that a business exists, of course, to add value, and of course that adding value is at a profit. So a couple of elements are very critical to the business. Is usually the production phase, which then determines the costs element to the business. And then, of course, then the phase of the sale phase, which is the commercialization phase, which then determines then the viability of the business in terms of, yes, I produce at X, I'm then going to sell at X plus Y or X plus Z. And that X plus Z that I'm going to sell at then is able then to give me a profit and give me sustainability and then manage my then be able to manage my cost and viability to that aspect. So we've developed a couple of programs that we are working on and we've been doing. And one of the market linkages that we're doing is that working with various trade associations. So these trade associations, of course, we're looking at them. We've had past discussions with Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry as well. Forum discussions. We are exploring Kenya Bankers Association also just to see what is it that we're able to bring together through the Inuka Enterprise Program. We've participated in this before as a bank to be able then to, of course, upskill our customers and open up forums for them where they're able to then seek market. So the market linkages, look at it from the point of, are we able to open opportunities for you to be able to network and be able to grow your businesses, both locally and internationally? At the local level, we're exploring trade associations, the various trade associations with some of our potential markets even abroad, like the Dutch Business Hub, the Pakistani Business Hub, the Nigeria Association of Business Hub, where then we're intending to have joint forums with them and be able to invite our customers to be able to interact and just explore opportunities that they can be able to get from some of those countries and ask themselves, what is it exactly is in it for a Kenyan trader today or a Kenyan entrepreneur today with Nigerian market? What potential are you able to get in terms of a market? And then the question then comes into play is that then what are some of these bottlenecks or what are some of these regulatory aspects that then you need to consider if you're then go to those markets and be able to explore your businesses. The other bit that we've done and we're doing that is then, of course, now the international trips and customer awareness. So this year in October 12th to 23rd, we're having an international trip to China. That's Shanghai, Yiwu, and Guangzhou. Where we're going to take our customers. We've organized, we work closely with the travel agencies and the various trade associations, the ambassador in China, the Chinese Africa Business Council, and then we've curated a very watertight customer trip that will involve factory visits, market visits, linkages with the various agents and sourcing for markets as well. We've been running this through, and actually this week we're just closing out on the final recruitment bit of it for the customers to join us to the trip as well. Then, of course, we negotiate and we get a very good rate for the customers that they can be able then to pay and join us for the trip. Now, what we've seen with some of these trips is very interesting. Is one that customers have traveled, they've gone to some of these places, they've been able to explore so many opportunities. Some of them are in business X, for example, dairy farming. They go there, they're able to get equipment, they're able to get supply sources for supply for their raw materials, for raw materials for their manufacturing here. We then get to encourage them that as much as, yes, China has been a big market where we source some of our finished goods, but we'll be very happy as a bank and as an organization if you can be able to go there and get machinery and come and produce back at home. And we've seen quite a number of substantial real-life cases where we even had people who are medical practitioners who traveled to China, caught one or two ideas and came back, and now they're doing carbon paving blocks and they have machines that are doing that themselves, and they've been able to have a very successful story to be able to share. So the international linkages not only then expose them to a potential market where they can be able to source their materials and machineries, but also just learning and see what is the best in class practice that people are doing. For example, if you are buying gypsum and your hardware, for example, are there opportunities that you can be able to then produce here locally, and what does it take to produce a gypsum board, for example. So some of those things that we get to, and we create time with our customers and just engage them even before the trip, and they share with us their aspirations, and we try then to map that aspiration so that by the time that they arrive in their various markets and they go there, they come back and tell us, did you really get to achieve what you wanted to do? And so that then the trip was not just a bit of leisure, bit of it, but then it was then purposeful enough for you. We are expanding this now further to get it into more thematic trips into the next year, and where now we'll be targeting various customers in very many areas. And one of the things that we're looking at, for example, we've explored private schooling, and we're already having discussions with various players in the private schooling within the Nordic countries. So that's Denmark, Finland, Norway, Estonia. And we all appreciate that our current system of education that is being implemented by government, that CBE, borrows heavily from the learner-based centers approach that those Nordic countries have applied for the last 100 plus years. And so we're asking ourselves, our private school entrepreneurs, is it possible for those private school entrepreneurs, for example, to travel there and just find out how best then are they able to upgrade their kindergartens then to meet those global standards that Estonia or Denmark is using? How then do we get to push that and ensure then that they're gaining that value in knowledge? And what is the best in class practice? If you're going to pick entrepreneurs in IT, for example, then we ask ourselves, if we take you to Estonia, or take you to Silicon Valley, what sort of deals are you able to cut? If you're a supplier of Microsoft's wares or Microsoft things and equipment or Compaq and all that, what sort of engagements are you able to engage with these people? So we look at it from a point of, don't just sell and be a Kenyan business, but then how do you then get to expand beyond the region, beyond just within our country? We are working very hard and trying to pursue partnerships, which is the last bit I'll now engage into, to be able to explore now how then do we open up to the African market. I think for a very long time, there's always been so much focus on it's the West. If you want something, let's go to China. If you want to do something, do this, which is good. And we rightly appreciate how those economies have been able to grow and do that. But the question then we've also been able to ask ourselves is, how then does Kenya then, which has been a leading economy within the region, then Kenyan entrepreneurs leverage on production and be able to sell within the market? So we're talking about COMESA, we're talking about African Free Continental Trade Area as well. So we're already looking for partners along that line and asking them, can we be able for next year, for example, to have these engagements where we're able to expose even our customers just locally, but also regionally? Can customers travel to Zambia, for example, and find out what opportunities are there? There is a grain challenge, for example, in Ghana, Nigeria, and the Gambia, for example, that West African stretch. And can our customers here, for example, be able then to open up those markets where they can be able to supply to them? Or even those who are in textile and all that, be able to source some of those West African fabric that are so famed about, and be able then to manufacture and produce and make some of those quality items that we can be able to then sell locally. So that is how the market linkages and international trips up. So, and finally, I'll talk about now partnerships. Now, along the way, we ask ourselves, some of these things we cannot really then be able to succeed as a bank to go into alone. We are largely, from a regulatory point of view, then limited by virtue of the fact that our role is to sell money. And that is what then we are licensed to do. And that then brings out the reason that for us to step into some of those spaces, then it's critical then that we get involved with partners. And one of the things that we've been looking at is various aspects. One of the aspects that we look at is our customers today, when they grow, when their businesses grow, today you borrow 1 million, tomorrow you borrow 10 million, the next borrow you borrow 100 million. Fine, you could be saying, okay, you need to secure those facilities. Okay, but then the question we ask ourselves, so will somebody be spending time buying pieces of land to be able to match up their borrowing needs? Businesses can grow exponentially. So today, if you borrow 10 million, tomorrow you have to borrow 50 million. So you're supposed to have the same amount in terms of property to be able to secure. Of course, looking at the exposure and the fact that from a regulatory point of view, we need to protect the interests of our depositors, which is also our customers, then we need to ensure that those things are secured. But then will we only be securing them using landed property, for example, as security? And they will then be pushing our customers to continue buying property just for the sake of borrowing alone. Is it not counterproductive Instead of putting money to expand their business, then they buy a vacant piece of land in Kitengela or Kisaju just because they hope that they can use it in future to increase their borrowing limits. So we then explored partnerships with organizations that are doing risk share. I think African Guarantee Fund then comes into play, and African Guarantee Fund has been very instrumental in terms of supporting our customers in trade. And within that, then we've gone further through a partnership through AGF and AFAWA, which is the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Finance in Africa, with the African Development Bank. And that now has even increased now the de-risking even further to women entrepreneurs. As it is right now, the African Guarantee Fund cover, risk share cover has been on 50% cover for borrowing customers. The AFAWA guarantee cover has even widened further. Now is doing up to 75% for women entrepreneurs as well. Of course, we all know some of the challenges that African women face, especially when it comes to collateralization, which is a big challenge to them. They're rising up pretty fast. They're doing amazing businesses. They're innovating very fast and having very good businesses, but then they're being then scaled down from their growth by collateralization. And so AFAWA then came into place. And as a bank, we're actually one of the partners of AFAWA, and we've been able to get up to 75% in terms of coverage. So the women entrepreneurs' headache now is just to look at the 75%, the 25% that is left that is not secured. And those ones you can always have a discussion with the bank and ask yourself, I've been a good client, is there any consideration that you can be able to help me, so that then you're able to underwrite and be able to extend this to me. Further to that also, some of those partners of us have also been able to help us even with the capacity building programs, as I earlier mentioned with Strathmore. But right now, then what we have done is we've gone ahead then and we've gone ahead and even partnered with AFAWA and African Development Guarantee Fund again, and we are doing an incubation program for women entrepreneurs, which is going to run for the next 1 year with the point of developing up to 80 women entrepreneurs with the aim of growing them and lending to them close to 1 billion Kenyan shillings in total. So it's a very intense incubation program, but rightly so. By the end of the day, then we're able to see. And all this is fully funded and taken care of by AFAWA, and of course in conjunction with the NCBA, just to develop our future entrepreneurs within the bank. So that then by the time we lend to you, we're lending to you somebody who we've prepared ourselves and said, we've made it ready for you now. We have no doubt that we are walking and speaking the same journey. We're expanding further also from a partnership, and we're looking at also blended financing options. We've had partnerships within the water and climate space to be able to expand our lending to our customers who are in the climate space, in renewables and green energy. Some of those sectors are pretty much emerging, and therefore it's very critical that we then get into them through the partnerships, people who deeply understand those sectors and experts in that. And that is already running right now, and we're going to expand even this. We've had developments over the last 1 year in a partnership with Propaco, which is a French investment firm. And Propaco is also pushing a lot of interest on the green and climate financing. We are exploring also other partnerships with financial sector deepening to look at how then are we able to then green our industrial and manufacturing clients who are in this space. So partnerships then will continue being this. We are looking at having discussions with other partners in agribusiness, for example, then to de-risk our agribusiness customers, enable us then lend to our small scale up to medium scale agribusiness customers. And so we believe that it's very critical that one, these partners, what they bring to us is that by virtue of the fact that the industry experts are those areas, and they're able to advise us as banks on what are the best in class practices of doing this. But also two, they also help us then get to navigate, and therefore we are not worried about then exposing our customer deposits or getting into murky waters, because we know we are being guided by somebody who truly understands that sector and can be able to advise us on this is the best way of looking at it. And we continue growing these partners and more as they go along. And we've also received various partnerships from various proposals from our customers as well, who tell us, could you consider this kind of partnership? If we do this, then we are looking at this. And we keep saying, why not? As long as the objectives are very clear and all of us are committed to a cause, then as a bank, then we are willing to be able to then to be able then to partner and ensure then that we can be able then to get value for both ourselves and grow, so that then the growth does not only go to NCBA as a bank, but the growth then comes simultaneously as the bank grows, and then also then as a customer, then you also get to grow ourselves, and would be happy to see that kind of growth. Then it means then that we are also growing, you are growing as well, and we are also then expanding opportunities as a bank to continue then getting more value from you as you get more value from us as a bank and in future. Yeah, so I think I would probably then briefly just summarize that and say that's basically what you're looking at. So if you look at that, then from my talk and description discussions, but we heavily this is to support and help the financing element. So that's why we call it beyond financing. It's we don't want to look at clients from just the potential of lending to them, but we want to look at them from the point of how then do we then partner with this our client as a partner, and whether they're looking for money, they're banking with us because they need money from us in now or the future. But is there something that we can continue working in? Is there a space that they can continue participating in as an NCBA customer? And we will continue with this and continue also accepting more ideas. And where then we need also to continue improving, we also continue getting feedback on the same, and so that we can continue to improve. Because every other challenges and every moment as we go along, there are new ideas that needs to be generated and improved, and that is very critical to us as a bank, that we must continue then remaining very dynamic to the needs and trends of the market, but also the needs of our clients as well, and the needs of the world as a whole, so that we also not caught then off guard, that we look irrelevant to our clients when we're only pushing one agenda, and yet they're asking for more that we can be able to give to them. Yeah, so I think thank you very much for your listenership. I think I'll be able to hand over to Lynette, and I do believe now probably we would be getting into the Q&A session at this point. Thank you very much, and Lynette, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Collins, and for that. So before I handle the questions, I think I'll drop a question to you. That is, you've talked about the partnerships, you've talked about the capacity building programs you have. And one of the key challenges MSMEs face is, first of all, lack of access to this information. And apart from lack of access to this information is also the information itself. Now, and this really makes the MSMEs feel that they are disconnected from now the large corporates and also financial institutions. So now, you as NCBA Bank, how are you really driving these collaborations, and also what role can now the partnership that you're building really play when it comes to bridging this gap? Because when you look at it also, SMEs are key factors when it comes to driving the economy of our country. So what are some of the partnership collaboration that you're having, and how you are ensuring that they're bridging this gap, so whereby MSMEs don't feel that there's a huge gap between them and the large corporate?
All right, great. You've spoken about information, and the question is how then do they get to know about some of the things that we do, and so that then they can be able to be part and parcel of it. We've been, one of the things that we have been doing very deliberately whenever we have some of these sessions as well, is one that we have a lot of blasts that we send in terms of communication to our customers within our networks, just to tell them awareness of what is going on. Some of the forums that we also do, the customer engagement forums, we get to publicize them even 2 weeks in advance, so that then they're able to appreciate and get information in terms of whether they're able to participate or not. Like the webinars we've been having, I think we've had now this last 1 month alone, the AFAR program with African Guarantee Fund has had about 3 webinars, which we've been able to share all that communication with our customers in advance, asking them to join, just to be able to appreciate what we're doing. Now, you mentioned something about how then do we get to help with our corporates, and how then we get to feed off that. Now, one of the programs internally that we're trying to look at is from a value chain point of view, is a core partnership between ourselves internally here at our corporate banking department from a value chain. So whenever then we have forums at corporate level, we are able then to engage the corporate banking team in the corporate teams and from their various customers, to be able just to share with them some of the list of their customers who are within their value chain, and supplying them or working closely with them. So then we also then get to then organize. We had a forum, I think, recently on industry players in manufacturing as well. And from that forum, then we were able then to derive those contacts when they were telling us, we know I work with X number of people, would you be able to sensitize the same information to them? And you're already organizing that customer engagement forum, targeting the feeding SMEs who feed then to our corporates from that kind of value chain. So that then the same information then is relayed at corporate level, but also fed into the medium enterprises and to the small SMEs. Now, this is critical because then again, the question we ask ourselves as a bank, we'd want to grow your customer from small. The most ideal is always you're able to want to grow your customer from small, medium, up to the large enterprises, and then eventually then they turn into corporate, and it will be a very great story if they can be able to turn into corporate clients and then still live with you, because it means that is their home in terms of what they're offering. So we're also very keen, even as we do that what is it that you can be able to derive from our clients at corporate levels that we can be able to feed in them. We've had a discussion, a forum that we did almost 2 months ago with some of the leading corporate clients in ICT, and when they came for the forum, we told them, could you also invite 3 or 4 of your SMEs who you deal with or who becomes your final distributors. We have one we're doing in agribusiness in Mwea between the 2nd and 4th in October, and we are asking the main agribusiness players that could you also be able to invite then the smaller players that you're working with, quote unquote, or the medium enterprise or the SMEs that you're working with, also to come into this play as well. So then when you're solutioning, then the solutioning is not only done at the corporate level, but then that solutioning is also able to accelerate across up to your individual customers at the local level. So those discussions continue being there. We continue doing that. Of course, I do believe we can do more in terms of the sensitization and just letting customers know exactly what we're doing. I think there's a dedicated team now that we had already that is just doing sensitization, and their key role is look at what is the bank doing, and whether it's in our social media posts, whether it's in our formal forums, on all those spaces as well, then customers know what is so today, so that any customers who follows NCBA on X, or who is on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or any of those platforms, then would they be able to know what NCBA is doing? Or anyone who is banking with NCBA, can they be able to get just a polite text message or email to tell them about what the next phase, what we are doing, or this offer that we are having, so they're able to benefit from that? Because information is very critical in this space, and these things would only add value if people know about them, and then people then can be able to make a decision whether they want to participate in them or not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that response. I think I'll pick some of the questions that were shared before the webinar, and most of them were in regards to LPO financing for a startup financing. Another question was in regards to trade finance. We had a question on when it comes to bid bonds. Someone was saying that we really don't understand what LPO financing is, and they're really asked for this. How can we really understand it and know that we're in a position of getting this financing so that you can also go for these tenders?
Okay, thanks, Lynette. I want to invite my colleague Hilary Mushiri, who is on call, who is our trade finance expert. I think he would be better placed just to quickly go through that, and then I can briefly then mention afterwards on how do we deal with startup financing. So Hilary?
All right, Collins, thank you for that. Confirm I'm audible?
Yes, very well. Go ahead.
Excellent. My name is Hilary Mushiri. I'm in trade finance of NCBA Bank. This is where we handle suppliers or businessmen generally to just ensure we unlock your cash flows, and we look at how we can mitigate risk, so that when we are lending to you, we don't just lend blindly. We help you to supply or to do business in a safe way and get our money back and get your profits back. Quickly to your questions. I'll start with someone asking this, Charles O'Peel. Thank you for your comment, Charles O'Peel. You're asking about LPO financing and letters of credit. Number one, we'll have a session on a Friday at Olosereni, so please do not miss this session. It's very important to just understand how exactly can you do more, because I know you are somewhere, you have started somewhere, but as a bank, we want to support you to be able to do more within your space. So we'll be looking at how the bank will come in from the point of where tender is advertised all the way to procuring that item, whether it is a local procurement or you're buying it overseas, how the bank will come in to help you procure that, deliver, and then you get paid. So in LPO financing, just to touch a little bit on that, we help you to execute that LPO. We require you to have an LPO or a contract and we agree on the amount that you need. We don't dictate the amount we give you. We agree. We have a discussion on the amount that you need, and then we'll structure something that will ensure you'll actually be able to buy that item and deliver, and then we'll take our money when we receive payment from your payment or from your client. Worth noting, a key element that the bank will look at is who is this paying you? Who is this client paying you? Would be interested to know whether they are able to pay. Of course, we know the information is out there. Some entities don't pay very well. So would you want to be in a situation where your client is not paying you? So we are all entangled into that. So we look at who is paying you, and if you are able to do that contract. Have you been in that business in the past? So if it's general supplies, we can go into that and finance you. If it's something very specific, very unique, and you've not done that in the past, you may need to ask you, so how comfortable are you doing this particular business now that you've not done in the past? Then you explain how you look at it. So feel free to engage us. I think we can share our contacts beyond this, because time may not be sufficient to handle everything around LPO financing, but feel free to join us on Friday, where we'll tackle matters LPO, contract financing, tendering, importation, exportation, and what you need as an SME to take your business to the next level, because we believe you know what needs to be done, but then you need a partner like NCBA to take your business to the next level. Someone asked about the INAGPO and people with disability category. Yes, again, we'll be able to support you to do the LPOs. So feel free to get in touch with us to be able to explore that further. And we'll show you as a bank how we are willing to come in to ensure, even when you're looking for that contract, because I know most of you are hiding at work in the marketplace, you're able to go for these contracts with confidence. So we have a solution for you on that, and we'll pay our emails there and contacts so that you're able to contact them. So for any questions between now and prepare any questions that you may have around LPO financing, guarantees, import, exports, all those things. Then we'll be able to handle them on Friday and tell your fellow business partners to come for the event on Friday. Thank you, Lois. Back to you.
Maybe just sorry, before Lois, I get to you, and maybe just to highlight on, I think there's a question around, Alfred was mentioning about starters. How do you deal with new starters? Now, maybe just from a point of an advisory and feedback, Alfred, as part of our trainings that we do and capacity building programs, we do not encourage clients at the point of starting to get into debts from a wise business decision point of view. Reason, of course, being is that the business is very new. You probably don't know what the challenges that business would face. You don't know what externalities and shocks. You've not gone through a whole process. And that's why you see most of the time we'll always encourage you that at least if it's a starter, you must have run through a full 1-year cycle of a business. If there are cases, for example, especially with contract financing or LPO financing, as what Hilary is talking about, then very exceptional considerations can be done. But in those considerations, then we'll be able to ask ourselves and ask you also in place, what is the guarantee of your payment? So if the off-taker, whoever you're supplying to from a contract point of view, it's very clear, the payment is very clear, then we can always have those discussions and say, how then do we support this singular part of transaction? And then what mechanisms do we have in place? But ideally, it's not something that we'd always encourage our customers who are new to business, whatever form of business, to then get into borrowing within the first 1 year of establishing themselves. That primarily should just be a year of establishing yourself, looking at the challenges, getting your markets, understanding your suppliers, understanding your production cost, for example, your sales, and all those dynamics that deals with the whole financial year in business. And then that afterwards, then now you can still ask yourself, then why do I need money? And is it for expansion or is it for equipment assessment and all those kind of things? So I think that was important just to highlight that from a starter point of view. Thank you. Back to you, Liz. Sorry.
Okay, before you finish, I wanted just to, you've been talking about starters and what have you. So there's a question on now, you are a starter. How can you build on now maybe financial literacy as a person? Because that's always the main roadblock when it comes. Maybe when you began, you were talking about now as an entrepreneur, reasons why we get to entrepreneurship. Sometimes circumstances are forcing us to get into it. Now here you are beginning the journey. How can you literally build on financial literacy and be in a position of maybe strengthening your credit worthiness so that, and now maybe you've gone through the cycle of the 1 year. And when you now approach NCBA Bank, you're in a position of getting the support that you need.
Great. I'll answer that from so many ways. One, information is power, and information is literally everything. So as a new starter, one of the things that I would do now, to answer this outside the bank, is that I would then deliberately ask myself, how then do I get to sharpen my financial skills? Probably I would look at it from self-taught courses online. I would want to participate in X Spaces discussions where they're talking about financial planning for businesses. I would want to look out for forums that are talking about financial literacy trainings, that are talking about, I would probably pay for a few short courses here and there that can be able then just to be able to, and also get an opportunity to interact with some of my fellow business people who are also like me, probably, or even probably better than me, who I can be able to pick one or two things about them. So I would be very deliberate in terms of trying to reach out for information that I can be able to get to know and get that that kind of learning. I think for me that is very important, so that then by the time you make decisions, then decisions are based more or less from an information point of view. And not from a hard experience that you go through, because some of those hard experiences might actually mean a loss or even shutting down your businesses, especially if you took a wrong decision along the way. So I would look at it from that kind of that kind of aspect, and for me, that information now would be the priority that I would be then gauging myself and saying, this is critical for me to be able to build up myself before now I can come to the bank or now tell myself, what do I need to do? I give a very brief comment yesterday when I went to one of the customer visits and I was coming back. I took this Uber driver, and so we're just talking, and we, along the way, I always chat a lot with them just to get what is happening, what do they feel about everything and everything. Some will, of course, engage you and try to figure out what exactly, what do you feel about certain topical issues, politics, and whatever it is. And so he mentioned to me along the way that, so he said, okay, so are you NCBA? And they said, okay, NCBA. Then he said, are you still NCBA Loop? Then I said, yes, Loop is the digital bank of NCBA. And then he said, I opened a Loop account, and there's a limit I've being told if I continue banking, I can actually get a limit. And this car that I'm driving is not mine. But so far, my limit has grown to about 500,000. And my plan is that I keep banking so that in the next 1 year or so, I can be able to buy my own car and then hand over the owner of this, so that then every 100% is my profit. And we had those discussions, and he told me, even as you're going to pay this, if you're going to pay, please, would you transfer it to my Loop account if you need to, because I don't want to receive any cash. Neither when I pay out, do I pay out. I have to go back to my Loop account to pay out, because I want that limit to continue increasing. And he asked me, I've checked and seen it's 500,000. Can I go back and is it okay to be checking? Or if I check, I might get tempted to withdraw. I told him it's good to check so that you know what your progress is, so that you see how you need to continue increasing what you're doing for the limit. And I told, and he asked me, so what is the best time to come and see you guys when it comes to asset finance? I told him, yes, we are the leading providers in asset finance. Even right now, we can actually finance you. But my quick thought is, you can wait a little longer so that you have a bit of a deposit also to present, so that then the loan doesn't have to be very big anyway. And that means also that even as you take the loan and have the car, then whatever you're earning, you can be able to share it between your loan repayments and also then your day-to-day subsistence. And I asked myself, and I told myself, this is the real what our ordinary entrepreneurs then get to go through. Just a little point of information of just somebody saying, if you can only do this, then it can better this. And I told them, just be good. If you borrow money anywhere, pay it in good time. Make your credit history, because where we are going now, and with the information sharing and with data as being the source of decision making with technology and all that, in the next couple of years or so, you'll probably be able to borrow even 10 million without walking to a bank and having anything. Like now in NCBA, now we're already working on a 6 million unsecured. This is going to be digitized for businesses, which you don't need to come to the bank. You'll get it on your phone as a business person and decide and then say, I want to pay for 36 months, I want to pay for this X number of years, and you do your own things. That is where we're going. But that will be heavily then based on data and the information we get. So I was telling him, just make sure the most thing you guard is your history and your data. If you can be able to guard that, trust you me, 1 year down the line, you'll not be having these issues about I'm not able to get a loan from a bank, or I'm being taken around in cycles because I'm not able to get a loan because they're telling me this. Some of these online limits for just bank borrowings and all that will probably balloon up to even 10 million that you'll be able to get online. So I think that's also very critical just to look at it. And I would consider him a startup anyway, because he's still driving. Then his experience as an Uber driver, but he's using somebody's car, and now he's going to have his own car, where now he's the one managing, he's the one fueling, he's the one deciding when it's being serviced and all that. And of course, that's a different dynamic from driving somebody else's car. Thank you, Lois.
Okay, thank you so much, Collins, for the reflections. I think at one point we'll have a deep conversation in regards to now history and data and how we can really protect that. And now as MSMEs be in a position of getting this financing and what have you. Then I've seen there's a question in regards to going to the China trip and what have you. So when you are registering, if you fill the form that you wanted your information to be shared with NCBA Bank, you'll be in a position of sharing your information with them, and they'll be in a position of maybe sharing with you the capacity building programs they have. Am I right, Collins?
Yes, I'll be able to do that. Yes. And also, I've also shared my email address on the chat. Because one of the reasons why I've done so is that we are closing that recruitment this week. Actually, auto have closed. We're just trying to plead with our agency to add us a bit of time so that our last customers are not left out. So if somebody then quickly can be able just to drop me a mail after this, I'll be able to share all that information, and then we can be able to help you with the onboarding bit of it, and then we discuss the payment plan so that you're quickly booked for a visa interview, probably sometimes next week. So we'll be able to support that, and please feel free to do that even as we wait to share the rest of the information in the course of the day.
Okay, thank you so much. Hilary talked about LPO financing, bidboard, and trade finance. For that, as he had said, he'll be having a whole presentation when it comes to that. They'll also be having a booth for you. You can go consult. Now, if you have any questions in regards to finance, loans, and anything, any question that you have around NCBA Bank, they'll be having people on the ground that will be giving you the solutions and also sharing with you conversations around and how they have also been working with other SMEs. I believe maybe they can be also in a position of maybe bringing on board maybe one SME who has also gone through their financing process and how it has been and how they have been in a position of growing. That is maybe through their capacity building programs, but that's the conversation for maybe another time, so that you can also be in a position of seeing it from a first person perspective, someone who has gone through the initiative and how it has really impacted them and what have you. So we are really looking forward to that. So today's session was purely on giving us the kind of value-driven conversations that you're going to be having at the forum this week on Friday. So if you're a PWD, person with disabilities, you can also reach out to Tenda Soko, and we'll be in a position of giving you a slot so that you can be in a position of attending the forum also. And for more inquiries and information, I think they've shared the contact on the chat. We'll also be in a position of reaching us out. So at the forum, we'll be in a position of having a mix of various voices and partners. We'll also be having the Blue Company Initiative. I believe you'll be in a position of seeing Francis here, who is in charge of the Blue Company project, and they'll be leading us our conversation when it comes to integrity, business, and how to be transparent and also accountability. We'll also be having BDO East Africa. They'll be guiding us when it comes to how to be bankable as an MSMEs, which will also be backed up by NCBA Bank, who are also going to be there. So alongside, you're also going to be having more partners, bankers, and also the private sector in line with our theme. So as we close, my invitation to you is don't let today be the end of the conversation. You can also join us on this week on Friday, and you'll be in a position of also interacting with their fellow entrepreneurs. And before I close, I think maybe Collins can give us a parting shot.
All right. Yeah, thanks very much, Lois, for this, and sincerely appreciate our participants and our customers as well for listening and spending time with us as well. I think I look forward to interacting more with you on Friday at the function. I think the one-on-one interactions for me has always been very great. We get to just appreciate and ask some of those questions. Please feel free to reach out with any other topic with the email address that I've shared as well. And let's always look at it. And my parting shot always comes from a quote I like from JFK that says that partnership is not a process, nor is it a posture. It is a day-to-day engagement between two willing and focused individuals who have a site in place. So let's keep partner. Let's build it on a day-to-day basis. It's not a one-time event, it's a journey. And so let's walk this journey together in JFK Award, and looking forward to greater interactions on Friday and seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you once again for being with us today. And a special thanks to NCBA Bank and team for being in a position of working with us through this journey with us. We wish you all a wonderful day ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you and bye.